Mark your calendars now for February 17th to the 19th, 2026. Because if you miss this, you'll be playing catch up all year. This is the future unbound. And the most important higher ed marketing and enrollment management conference of 2026. Insights EDU is taking over Fort Lauderdale, where Google, Meta, Reddit, MIQ Digital, and top institutions nationwide will pull back the curtain on what's next. Are you ready to adapt or be left behind? Insights EDU 2026 is where leaders become game changers. Register now at insightsedu.com. That's insightsedu.com. Early bird pricing ends December 15th, 2025.
Support the podcast trusted by higher ed leaders. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe for only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Welcome back, everybody. It's your time to EdUp on the EdUp Experience podcast, where we make education your business. This is Dr. Joe Salustio back with you on another episode here. The never-ending conversation. It can't end because we have to continually tell a positive story about what's happening in our industry amidst disruption, amidst decline, and people's perceived value of higher ed, even though the statistics say that a bachelor's degree still has massive value, associate degrees still have massive value. Don't know where that comes from, but that's something that we have to tackle here. One thing we do know is that people have to be prepared for the future of work. We all want jobs. We have to be prepared for artificial intelligence and all the things that those new opportunities present us. Speaking of opportunity, I like my own segues because I can build up to it and then segue. Please don't forget that for you, we have transitioned part of our website into a publication service for our colleagues across higher ed to write articles about topics that are important to them, maybe new program releases, maybe business model innovations, maybe an opinion about what's going on. You can submit your article to edupexperience@gmail.com, which that's not too hard to remember, edupexperience@gmail.com. And we will put that on our site, EdUp Editorials, which is straight off the podcast website. We've been posting articles that our peers and colleagues are writing about something they care about, pushing them out to our global audience. Maybe it's tough to get into a trade publication because sometimes there needs to be a negative angle or something that's going to be, newsworthy. But I think there's new program releases are newsworthy. I think an opinion of a college or university president about what's going on is newsworthy. And so we've dedicated EdUp Editorials to do just that. So get out your pen and paper, your text to speech or whatever the heck you use to write articles these days, and send it to us at edupexperience@gmail.com. Okay, that's enough of that. I'm going to get to our guest right now. We met, my guest and I, at an artificial intelligence AI, I just said AI, artificial intelligence, boot camp for CEOs and college presidents. College presidents are CEOs, so CEO/president in, I think it was Newport Beach, California. And we got to talk about all things artificial intelligence, and we met, and it's like, let's do a podcast. Finally, we've got her here. Ladies and gentlemen, here she is. She's Dr. Tiffany Hernandez. She's the president at Glendale Community College. Tiffany, welcome to an EdUp Mic. How are you?
Hi, Joe. Thank you. I'm great. Thanks for having me.
So rumor has it you've completed your second year at Glendale Community College. And for those of our listeners that may not know or have heard about Glendale Community College, situate us. Where are you? Who do you serve? And how do you serve them?
Well, Glendale Community College is one of the 10 colleges that's part of the Maricopa Community College District, which is located in the greater Phoenix, Arizona metropolitan area. So there is a Glendale Community College in California. I know it is amazing. We are the second amazing community college with that name. We serve about 15 to 16,000 students every fall, and then again in the spring and over the summer. Our students are very reflective of the community that we serve. So we're about 50% Latino students, about the same amount of white students. And We have an incredible student body, incredibly innovative, incredibly persistent, and very interested in the idea that, or the knowledge that college education will allow them to accomplish and achieve the dreams that they want to accomplish. So what we're really focused here at Glendale is to make sure that the talent and the people of our local community have all of the opportunities they need to thrive and to increase their intergenerational wealth and opportunity rather than needing to leave the state or bringing new people into the state, because there's so many talented, amazing people here, and we want to make sure they have all the job opportunities that are available to them here.
100%.
That makes me think of I'm not sure we've gotten down to this level, but your point about the value of higher education and generational wealth. Do you think that let's talk about the Latino population. You're serving about half Latino population. Is that same conversation about the value of a degree happening in Latino population, or is this reserved for a population that has had great access to higher education for a really long time that goes, maybe it's not worth it, but maybe that's not happening for those that are first gen or immigrants or whatever else? Do you see any kind of conversational difference?
Well, I can speak anecdotally that the students I talk to absolutely see the value of higher education, that their families agree and want them to be able to have access to the jobs and opportunities that everyone in the state has access to. I think there are barriers that prevent them from coming to college or for persisting in college, just like every student. So if your family doesn't have a lot of income or other resources, it's definitely difficult to stay. If your family needs you to help work straight out of high school so that you can care for your siblings or help with the family income, of course, that's a barrier and a priority for you. So we try to look at opportunities to alleviate those barriers, either through scholarships, through what we call just basic needs support. So if your family needs a little bit of extra money, maybe you need a little bit of help on rent, maybe you need some help with your car, just little opportunities here and there, which for many people seem insignificant, but for a student who's living from paycheck to paycheck and really needs to prioritize that money for their family, then those little opportunities go a really long way. So I would say, yes, everyone, no matter what background or what diverse characteristics you bring to the college, everyone understands that college is by far the best way to achieve the career and the dreams that you want to have. It's just the barriers that get in the way that we're trying to alleviate.
Tell them like it is.
I have to tell you, there's been a lot of times on this podcast that we have talked about the $300 fender bender, right? And $300 is a lot. It could be like a $50 windshield replacement. And how, retention, if you're at a 4-year comprehensive, well-endowed university that's selective in admissions, retention at that university is a lot different than we talk about retention for a community college student that primarily is serving adult learners or first-gen students. The work is different of retention. The layers that you have to get down to, because that $50 or whatever to a student, if you can send the bill to mom and dad, not a big deal. But if you've got to go to work to try to pay it, that's a bigger deal. And if you have to decide between fixing that $50 windshield and putting food on the table, that becomes an even bigger deal. And so easy for students to go, you know what, I just can't do school right now. Like, it's so easy to say that. Like, I just can't do it right now. I'll come back when I make more money or when I'm ready. And it's really hard to get them back in the system. Can you talk about the great work, the real nitty gritty retention work that has to happen for a community college?
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I always try to explain it just like you did. If you are in a economic situation where you or your parents or whoever's supporting you can help you get through a 4-year degree at a university where you have housing, you have food paid for, right? You ostensibly have transportation, where you're just really focused on learning. That's the ideal, right? To be able to really focus in on learning and not have other things trying to vie for your attention, your time, and your resources. Community colleges are wonderful spaces because we say everyone is welcome, everyone can come. We want you here. You are have the capacity to learn. Everyone has the capacity to learn given the right circumstances. So it's our responsibility to be able to provide, to get students to the classroom in the best condition to learn. And a lot of that is making sure that you don't have these other things vying for attention while you're sitting in the classroom, whether it's virtual or physical, trying to learn, trying to do your homework, trying to do all the work that it takes to learn, which is a really high order activity for your body, right, to go through. So we take the time and the resources to provide quite a bit of retention-focused support. One of those areas is what we call an advocacy center. So it's a space where you can come if you need that $300 to get you through the month, if you need a little extra snack because you didn't have time to stop and grab something to eat on the way. Maybe it's access to additional scholarships. Maybe it's access to mental health care, which is a huge need across the country today, no matter if you're a student or not. So we look for all those opportunities. One thing that Glendale Community College is doing around retention, along with all of the colleges in the Maricopa system, is we've declared retention, the increase of retention, as our wildly important goal. So every department across Glendale Community College has been working over the past year to identify one thing that they could laser focus on to try and increase retention. It might be making sure students make it through a specific class. It could be our facilities folks. They are doing an extraordinary job making sure our campus, both of our campuses, are beautiful and welcoming and safe. Our sworn peace officers are doing exactly the same thing. Everybody has a role in retention because we realize how hard it is for students to be able to stay. It's not that they aren't capable of learning and succeeding. They are more than capable of learning and succeeding. It's those extra things that come around in a person's life that get in the way. So we're trying really hard to alleviate those.
So well said. And, you brought up something about the security and peace officers in the area. You're doing some unique work around that with partnership for cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is like this gigantic, massive issue that all of us are taking on one way or another. Can you talk about the partnership that you have going on and why that's going to be significant for Glendale and for the students in the area?
Right, Joe, thank you for bringing this up because I am also very excited about this program. So we have a cybersecurity associate of applied science and some certificates that scaffold into that degree. But what we found again and again is employers who are interviewing students for jobs who've just graduated are looking for someone with experience, which they don't necessarily have because they've just gone through college and they haven't been working in the cybersecurity field. So we created, we call it the GSOC, Gaucho Security Operations Center. It's a security operations center, just like you would find in any company around there. It's overseen by a data engineer, a computer engineer, and a data analyst who have years of experience in the cyber area. And we provide network security for local municipalities free of charge to that municipality. And it gives our students the opportunity to get some real world experience. Wow. So for us, it's the city of Wickenburg, which is about 60 miles north of us, the Wickenburg School District, which is in the same city, and then the town of Litchfield Park. So these are very small cities that don't necessarily have the resources to stand up their own network security or would prefer to spend those resources on some other city service. So we've come in and said, hey, if you trust us, we will provide your network security and our students will get that experience. So it's been a real game changer for our students. We've gotten national recognition. The National Cyber Director under the Biden administration was out here last year to check it out. And now the Arizona Homeland Security department, I think is the name of it, has created their strategic plan with us in it as one of their primary pipelines for training our Arizona cybersecurity staff. So I'm just very excited about that. The more we move along in our advanced technology, the more we're going to need really qualified cybersecurity folks to keep us safe, just like you said. So I'm glad that Glendale's participating in that and contributing to that.
Amazing.
Especially if you're doing anything with K-12, like there's a big, you've seen the articles about there, like the easiest way for any kind of cyber hacker predator to get information is by hacking K-12. You end up with all these kids' parents' information. You can fish for financial phishing. There's trafficking, sexual. There's all sorts of stuff that internet predators of any kind are after. Being able to give to the community like that while training your students in the job of the future, right? I mean, you talk about cybersecurity, but cyber security, think about artificial intelligence, like that is the job. Cyber security, we're going to need a lot more of it. National security, cyber national, cyber local, cyber everywhere. So to hear that you're doing that is huge. How are the students reacting to the ability to get their hands dirty? And I mean, they must have moments where they protect against the phishing attack, or they stopped something from happening because of their efforts, or they're just like, wow, this is crazy.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely love it. It's very rare to have an opportunity to work. And what I hadn't mentioned is they're also being paid to do that, because we don't want to send someone back from an opportunity to participate because they need to go work and take in the money. We were just talking about that. So they do get a stipend for participating in addition to class credit. So trying to make sure that every student has an opportunity to participate no matter what's going on around them. And I just got a phone call. I'm going to just turn it off real quick.
Yeah, that's okay. That happens. You're a college president, right? I mean,
That's so random.
If you didn't get random phone calls, you wouldn't be doing your job.
That's right.
Talk about, as we transition, because we talk about this really important area of cybersecurity, and then this other really important area that still needs some attention is teachers. We need more of them, and we need to pay them more, and there's a lot of stuff there. But you have a cohort of elementary ed graduates at the bachelor degree level, which, wait a minute, somebody goes, wait a minute, am I interviewing a community college right now? Community college president, how are they have bachelor's degrees? So what is this whole thing, and why is it important?
So bachelor's degrees at the community college level are not new, but they are new ish, right? So relatively new in the history of higher education. So we were approved as a community college to offer a baccalaureate degree in elementary education with a specialization in special education from the Higher Learning Commission, who's our accreditor. And we've just run through our first cohort. They graduated this May. It was spectacular to watch a bachelor's degree. Yeah, exactly. Cohort come through with all of our associate degree and certificate degree graduates as well. It's, I think, an extraordinary opportunity for students, like we were talking about earlier, talent in our community to be able to attain a bachelor's degree at the price of a community college tuition, right? So roughly $97 a credit hour is what we charge, which is significantly lower than any university you're going to run across. And then a little bit of extra money, of course, to help them do their student teaching and to support that. But by and large, less than $10,000 easily for a bachelor's degree. And they have already spent the 2 years prior to starting their junior and senior coursework getting to know the faculty, getting to know one another. So it's a very nice learning community. So you have support for the student from the faculty and from one another. You have a really nice cost affordable high quality program for students to be able to complete at a community college and not needing to transfer. That doesn't mean that the community college is going to start doing bachelor's degrees all over the place. What we're trying to do is really find those unique situations where there is need. And absolutely, no one would argue that there's a need for teachers in the state of Arizona. So we are very excited to be able to fulfill that workforce need um, within within our own four walls, I guess I would say.
Yeah,
That's
I
incredibly
love
exciting.
I love it, and I love the background. I think it's important too because there's so many factors that affect a student's journey, and you start to think about change is difficult, right? So if you've got your 2-year associate, and if you're going to do a normal, quote unquote, normal articulation to a 4-year, if you're taking online courses or you're going on ground, it doesn't matter. You're essentially starting over, so to speak, at that university, which means you have to go through all that stuff that you went through, belonging and finding your team and getting introduced to faculty and know where to go again. And sometimes just because that degree has been completed at the associate degree level doesn't mean that all of a sudden this student is flush with cash and is going to be able to do everything the way this other university wants them to do it. There's still a level of understanding that has to be maintained. So if you look at all these factors like successful course completion, and you look at, depending on if you're attendance taking or non-attendance taking, your relationship with the faculty, you've already got this cadence. And one thing I know from my time in higher ed is, like, you have to work your life around school, not school around your life. And once you achieve that, when you have to interrupt that, it becomes hard to do it. And so it makes a lot of sense in certain instances, as you suggest, to give that student the continuation, the cadence continues. And it's a whole lot easier to go, oh, wow, I've got 2 more years of this in this place I'm familiar with, than, oh, I've got to go here and do everything over again and get all this stuff done. Those are like those are higher education barriers that we create because of the systems that we operate in. What do you think about what I just said, soapboxing?
Yes, no, 100% agree with everything you just said. In fact, we have a program with one of our local high school districts right now that we're rolling out that would move that access for students to college coursework in high school. So you've got your high school coursework, you're taking college credit coursework in high school as part of our dual enrollment. Then you're moving into the coursework for the teacher's degree, right? So then you've got some freshman coursework finished, then you come to the community college, you finish up those 2 years, and then you go straight into the bachelor's degree. With this program, though, those students from the school district are then going back and they're doing their student teaching in that school district. And the reason why the superintendent is so supportive of this system is it's providing him a pipeline for his graduates to come back and become teachers. And I think that's really important. So we're solving a problem for him because he's trying to hire more teachers. We're solving a problem for the students because they want to be teachers, but they don't quite know how to go at it. So we're starting while they're in high school, moving them through. They stay at the community college the whole time, and then they go back to the school district to start their teaching, which is where they wanted to be. So I think it's a really nice ecosystem, right, that we've created for students to receive a high quality education, be very comfortable where they're at, it's affordable, and then they go back to exactly where they wanted to be. Once that gets going and we have a proof of concept, then we'd really like to try and roll that out to more communities in our West Valley area, just to help solve that teacher shortage and to make sure that our high schools are getting high quality teachers.
Right. There was a lot of noise around teachers during COVID, and then it sort of just like subsided, right? It was like, pay them more. Because if you had kids at home driving you nuts and you had to do virtual, online learning with 7-year-old, you're like, well, teachers are really important. And then it sort of subsided. So I'm glad to see the commitment to teachers, which we cannot live without in this country. Speaking of sort of freedom, I didn't recognize that you served in the Air Force. So thank you for your service.
Thank you.
Appreciate that. And if you don't mind, you're a military intelligence officer, which I have to think helps you navigate some of the bureaucratic structures of higher education. You're always doing intelligence work. I'm sorry for the connection, but I think it's true.
Well, definitely bureaucracies. I mean, for
Yeah.
sure, the military is a huge bureaucracy. I think you just get used to navigating that. One of the things the military, the Air Force in particular, really taught me was finding a way through. Right?
Mm.
You may come across an initial no, or here's some of the opportunities we have, but then also some challenges, and just keep going at it until you get through all the challenges to where you want to be.
Is
That
that like
grit.
one of your leadership tenets to sort of like, you know, you get the brick wall, but you've got to find ways around it. You've got to try different
Yeah.
tactics. Is that part of how you've been successful in your career?
I think so. I mean, I generally, if something is super meaningful, if I know that it is the right thing, then I usually take no as not yet, and I look for an opportunity to move around it,
Ooh,
and really to bring a team with me, right? Because I'm never acting alone. I have much smarter people who surround me, who are doing the really hard work, and I just make sure they have the resources they need, and we have a vision, and we just kind of keep going at it. And
I like that.
yeah, higher education's we would love to move much faster. I think higher education is generally a slower moving thing. But we'll just keep moving at it and keep pushing until we get to where all students have access to a really high quality education.
No, as not yet. I like that.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good way to think about it. You're talking about leadership, and you're in your second year now, finishing up your second year. You came from the student affairs. I mean, if you look at your background, you're coming up from student affairs to college president, which is way less common than the quote unquote traditional pathway to college president, which is, you know, faculty, dean, you know, super dean, assistant provost, blah blah blah, provost, president. What do you think the advantages are coming from student services that translate well into the presidency that you've experienced yourself so far?
Attention, higher leaders. It's time to shake up your marketing and enrollment strategy. Join us at Insights EDU, February 17th to the 19th, 2026 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida, for a beachfront experience and the best higher education marketing and enrollment management conference. Early bird pricing ends December 15th, 2025. Register now at insightsedu.com. The future unbound is at Insights EDU 2026.
Stay ahead of the conversation in higher ed. Get early, ad-free access, and exclusive leadership content by supporting Elvin and Joe. $5.99 per month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or gift a subscription at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.
Well, I'll tell you, so I started out as a faculty member at San Antonio College, where I really began my higher ed career, and did that for about 8 years. And then a dean opportunity opened up in the student affairs area. And I thought, if I really want to learn about higher education, I need to expand my understanding. I need to work with people who are doing different types of things to support students. So I was able to work in that job for a while, and then, as you noted, just kind of moved up in student affairs. So I think it's critical that you understand both, right? I think you need to understand the student experience in the classroom, and I think you need to understand the student experience outside of the classroom. What is fascinating to me was in student affairs, it is so broad, but not very deep, right? So in faculty, you get very specific and very deep in a particular discipline or area, right, that you're working in. It's fascinating to you. I'm a biologist. I'm a biologist in this very specific narrow area. That's how science works, right? You just kind of keep adding in these areas until we have a better understanding and a better understanding of something. In student affairs, it's very broad. So you have student life, you might have student athletics, you have the entire admissions process, you have all of the advising, you have our disability resource services and different types of scholarship programs. I mean, everything just sort of fits into that basket of opportunities to help students succeed. So having a much broader understanding of what everyone is doing at the college to help students really helped me be more empathetic to the role that they're playing, the hard work that they are doing. They're trying to overcome challenges every single day, right? And a wide
Array.
Array,
Yeah.
yeah, thank you. A wide array of areas, and trying to put the pieces together like a puzzle and say, okay, if we do these three things in this order, will that impact student success? Okay, how about these five things in this order, right? Always looking for new opportunities. And it's never one great idea that's going to solve all the problems. It's multiple people working together all the time to try and do new and unique things to help students. So that really opened my eyes to a significant amount of work that's happening really behind the scenes in a lot of places at a college, that is just as important as the experience that the student is having in the classroom.
It's fuzzy math.
I like that's when I think about student affairs, I like to think that it's like very similar to fuzzy math, because from my own experience, you could go through one day and you have a student that comes, that elevates some concerns because they can't register appropriately for a course. And the next student you meet with is complaining potentially about a food charge that's on their bill that shouldn't be there, and they end up in student affairs. And then the third conversation, somebody wants more vegetarian options because they don't eat meat. And it's like, wait a minute, I started a registration and I ended up all the way over here at vegetarian food options. Where's my head going? What order can I put these, or somebody comes out of the clinic and says, I can't, a health clinic and says, I can't, something's up, or the medication isn't there, or the insurance claim isn't this. It's like, wow, you have to know a little bit about hundreds of things to be able to answer the questions from these students. You're right. I never thought of it that way. Yeah, faculty really go deep with the student, and student affairs are going just one level deep with thousands or hundreds of students, and that is very hard to. But it is a good preparation for presidency, right? Because you're doing that at multiple levels. You got multiple stakeholders, and you're going this deep with every different stakeholder to make sure that you're maintaining relationships. It's an interesting way that you put it.
Yeah, I think it's fascinating, and I like the word you used, relationships, because ultimately that is the one thing that I have found in the last 15 or so years that I've been working in higher education is the relationship is the core of student success. As long as a student has had at least one or two advocates at the college, right, who can kind of intercede for them, to interpret college, structure to them, can make sure that they have access to the tutoring that they need, access to everything else they need, or just someone who says, I got you, I'm going to sit with you, I'll go through this with you. Like, that is the core of student success. Students don't go through it alone. We don't go through it alone. Any opportunity we have to build out those relationships, we're going to take it.
Speaking of student success, what's the Innovation Hub? What's this business going on over there at Glendale?
I'm so excited to tell you about the Innovation Hub. So this is a project that started as a renovation and turned into a build, just based on cost. It was less expensive to build something new than tear something down, interestingly enough, but that's how it goes. So this is an opportunity to really be at the cutting edge of a lot of the innovative technology that's happening in the West Valley of Phoenix, but really nationwide. So we're looking at creating I can never say virtual reality, augmented reality, content creation classroom. So
just do AR, VR. It's like way easier to say AR, VR instead of the
AR, VR, right? So for all our listeners who are way more tech savvy than me, just AR, VR.
Yeah.
So it is an opportunity for students who are in media production and doing different things to create that content, which they can go out and work anywhere that has that's looking for content creators. And we would very much like to get that program going and off the ground, and then look for opportunities for those students who already have experience then in creating the content to come back and create content for us. So we can use that for instruction, AR and VR for instruction in our own classroom. So that's sort of step 3 or 4. Right now, step 1 is building the building and then bringing students and doing the content. Yep. The rest of the building is really a makerspace that will help our students have experiential learning opportunities. If you're an engineer, if you are media, a production, just a bunch of really cool spaces, table saws, band saws, all that type of stuff to do their small scale projects, some more advanced manufacturing opportunities, huge advanced manufacturing build out in Phoenix right now. TSMC is here. there's two or three. Intel is here, of course. So that microchip development space, people are really coming to Arizona, specifically to Phoenix, to be able to build out those technologies. And we want to make sure we are primed to be able to help train people to work in those facilities. So all of that's happening in this innovation center. I'm really excited. Should be good to go for students to start using it in April.
Oh, so you're like, you're what? So you're just one term away, basically? That's going to be built this term, and then maybe springtime next year, you're going to have students inside there?
I hope so, late spring, if we stay on track. So for sure during the summer, and then we'll roll out for fall of 26.
One thing I remember from my recent past in working for institutions, by the way, now I'm adjacent to institutions, is the cost of materials. Like there was a big interruption to just get wood and metal and stuff. Are you seeing any of that those delays right now with everything going on in government, that there's just like material issues?
There is. We were actually touring, a colleague and I were, Arizona State University is incredibly cutting edge, right?
Yeah.
Around their technology. They're building out a whole new building in their, one of their east campuses, and some of the contractors we were talking to said it's it's probably a year and a half to 2 years to get some of the equipment that they need to be able to hook up the utilities, right? Just the equipment you need to be able to hook up city utilities to a building is
Need sewer. Gotta have sewer.
Yeah, gotta have sewer, gotta have electric, data, all that kind of stuff. So yes, I don't know if that's new. It seems like it's probably worse than previous.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we definitely have to plan way out, because just the cost of it. And then when you plan way out, you have to plan for much larger costs, because you know that in a year or two, the materials will be even
well,
more
and then
expensive.
there's also, if you plan for it to be open at some point and it gets delayed, there's a lost revenue piece that you may have budgeted for certain revenues or tuition dollars. I mean, it's the sort of the job of the president. And I like to highlight areas people don't typically think of, and that's one, like managing projects. You're basically a foreman, for all intents and purposes. But if you've budgeted, like we're going to have students in this classroom, we're going to get state funding and aid starting in April, and there's a delay in the project, and it's not going to go until August. That went in the budget. The cost went in the budget. The revenue went in the budget. The funding went in the budget. And it's like, okay, wait. We have to now rebudget ourselves out. So you're always flexing this revenue model that you have to update with the times. How challenging is it getting? Is it tough because, students aren't, maybe not as many students are wanting to come in higher ed? Do you have enough students wanting to come in higher ed? Is your non-credit offering doing well, and your for-credit offerings doing well? Like just giving a couple examples of part-time and full-time. I mean, you have so many variances to manage.
Right. A lot of moving parts. So I think my understanding now is growing around really community and college funding. That's one thing that I didn't necessarily have a lot of experience in up into being hired into this position, because like I had mentioned before, I had teaching experience, definitely the student affairs lens. But that budgeting area for an entire college, you have to just learn as you go, right? Because if you're a first-time president in particular. So it's something that I've focused mightily on to make sure that I'm doing it well, and that I'm taking care of the college financially with the team. One of the things that I think was enlightening to me to learn, or to realize perhaps, is that you have to have multiple sources of revenue, right?
Yep. For
community college, the revenue primarily in Arizona at any rate comes from tuition and tax dollars. We don't have a state appropriation at this time. So we're always looking for different revenue opportunities. So what can we do to offer value to our community that would bring in additional revenue dollars? So you had said non-credit courses. So we are now rolling out a large series of community education courses that are still low cost, but will help bring in some additional revenue so that we can use that money to do different things that we want to do on the credit side. And interestingly, and you were talking about AI earlier, And I'm thinking about, we were talking about sort of futures thinking and signal spotting. And I'm part of a community of practice here at Maricopa that does a lot of futures thinking. And we were doing some signal spotting. And one of the signals we saw was that younger adults are now taking adulting classes, right? So for whatever reason, they don't know how to balance their virtual checkbook, or are looking for things like, I've never learned to knit, or I've never learned to whatever it is. So we're trying to tap into that need and say, okay, how can we help? So we're doing some obvious things like some CPR and yoga and knitting and that type of thing. And then we have a very large retirement population, a retiree population in the West Valley of Arizona. And so a lot of people like, how do I download photos from my phone and make a print copy? Or how do I, download an app, and different things that someone in a retiree community may not have proficiency with yet. So all that to say, looking at how our resources are being used and looking for different opportunities to bring in additional revenue where we're underutilizing some of our resources. I think that will always be something that community colleges are working toward, just because our funding model is different than, say, a university or another institution, which has just different revenue sources.
Nailed it.
I wonder the fascinating part of that, like the current students taking adulting classes, if it's like related back to helicopter parents, or, just the advent of technology, to where there was a not too long ago, before my time in St. Louis, I was in Southern California. This is like 2018 to 2022. So right in the middle of COVID. And I remember the family across the street had a 17-year-old high school girl. She was senior in high school, going into college. And I remember she was babysitting for my young kids. And we just were talking to her before my wife and I were going to leave. And we were talking about time, and she couldn't read the analog clock. And I was like, what? She's looking at the digits. And when I figured this out, I'm like, you know what time it is? She's like, no, and I never have to look at a clock. I just look at the digits. So I've never really paid attention since they taught me in second grade. And I was like, whoa. So you think about, maybe that makes sense. Like the adulting, when the machines take over, they're not going to be making human clothes. So knitting might be really important. I don't know.
Exactly. My kids, I figured out when my son's phone broke a while back and he needed to drive to the AT&T store to get something, whatever, on his phone. I drew a map on it, like
yeah.
Go here and here, because he didn't have his GPS on his phone. And he was like, Mom, I don't even think I can read that. I don't know what you're trying to do.
He's like, Mom, what is this? A picture of a dog? What am I supposed to do with this?
Like, I don't understand a map. And it was floored me that he did not understand, but it makes complete sense because he's never had to read a map. He just gets instructions told to him through his, GPS or whatever phone. It's really interesting.
What else do you want to say, Tiffany, as we conclude this episode and move to a subscriber only a bit, where I'm going to ask you a little bit about leadership in the future of higher ed? I do want you to close out this episode by bringing up anything else you want to say about Glendale Community College, anything that we didn't talk about that you were hoping we get to, or just an open mic for you to opine a little bit about the great work that you're doing.
Well, I think we talked around it, or at least I use the word innovation quite a bit. And I want to highlight something that we're doing here, which I'm really excited about. So part of our strategic plans, we have a new strategic plan. It just rolled out this fall, has a piece of it. I'm trying to get us into the habit of thinking 10 years and beyond. Right. So usually strategic plans are 3 years or 5 years, and you're doing a lot of continuous improvement. And that's absolutely fine. Absolutely. We need to be doing continuous improvement, increasing our metrics and all the things that we're working on all the time. That's really important for our students. But we can't wait for the 10 years future to happen to us, right? Because then we're always reacting, responding. We're never really controlling or trying to drive what we want the future of our particular college to be, or what community colleges are in general. So with that in mind, we have a section of strategic plan that is going to identify and sort of create this innovation hub The purpose of it really being to put people to have the mindset, the skill set, and really a toolkit to be able to say, okay, let's do this future. We call it future thinking, foresight, strategic foresight, to say, how are we building and putting things into place now that will get us to where we want to be in this 10 years and beyond space? The future of higher education is changing rapidly. That's obvious. But it's changing so much faster, right, than it had been even a handful of years ago, in my experience. So if we don't keep up and decide what we want to look like and how best we can serve our students now, then we will be way behind. We won't be able to catch up in the future. And then people who are able to innovate and change rapidly will take that space. So that might be a for-profit, that may be a company, and maybe someone else looking to offer instruction and education in a different way. I don't think that's scary. I think it's exciting in terms of our opportunity, because we can really do something different and unique. Community colleges have the capacity to move fast if we want to. We can pilot, we can find proofs of concept, we can really execute on those quickly. And so I love to be in that space. I love change. I like to see what the future can hold and where we can get there and how we can design our current state to be able to meet that future state, whatever it could be, whatever we want it to be. So I put Glendale Community College in that space, or in that group of institutions that's really ready for change and really ready to do something unique. I'm sending a team to AFIT, which is the Alliance for Innovation and Technology. We're going to work with other teams to create out this innovation hub. It's an extraordinary group of colleagues. They are so fun. They are so creative and just outside of the box thinkers at all times. I love to be around that group of people. So I'm looking forward to it. And I'm looking forward to things that we'll be able to do here.
Yeah, shout out to AFIT, Erica Leodis, who's they've been a partner of ours at the EdUp Experience for many years. They do great work to foster innovation, and glad to hear that you are all connected. I love that message of transformation and innovation, because you're right. If we don't do it as leaders, someone else will come in. It's a space ripe for disruption. Whether we're disrupting ourselves or somebody else disrupts us is going to be the long-term question. Yeah. We're going to bring you right back, Tiffany, for a quick subscriber-only episode, but I have to outro you to the main audience. Ladies and gentlemen, she is the one. She is the only. Dr. Tiffany Hernandez. She's pleasant and the president at Glendale Community College, and you just EdUp'd. Okay, everybody, we're back with Tiffany for a quick subscriber-only episode, and I've got two quick questions for you, Tiffany. You talked about leadership, about the idea of multiple revenue streams as a president. But now in your second year as a president, you are, you could be ripe and bursting with advice for other presidents who are coming in as first-time presidents, aspiring college or university presidents. Much of our audience, this podcast has been downloaded like 500,000 times, and I've interviewed 375 presidents. So probably the majority of people listening are not college and university presidents, but aspiring many to be one. What gets you there? What do you need to do? What do you wish you knew then that you know now? You know that age-old question, if I knew when I was 15 what I know now, I would have, asked a girl out when I had the chance, kind of thing. Like what would you tell those aspiring and first-time college and university presidents?
Well, for those aspiring to do this job, I would tell you, keep going. We need you. Right. I think that the latest statistic is the turnover of community college presidents is like 3 to 5 years. We don't seem to last very long in this role compared to, say, the president. When I first started teaching in a community college, I think he was probably at that institution 40 years, and a good 20 years of it was as president. So, it's just a different job now than it was even 20 years ago. And so that's not a bad thing. It just is a thing. And so I'd say because of the turnover, if that continues, we will need more and more people to be interested in doing this job. And I think it's a fantastic, wonderful job to have. I'm very lucky to be here, and I'll try and stay as long as I can, right? So I would say keep going. The other thing for an aspiring person aspiring to be in a presidency is pay special attention to the institution that you are applying to, because I got very, very fortunate that I was able to come back to Arizona, having been in Texas for 20 years. Arizona is my home state. I very much wanted to come back. And I'm at an institution that I think fits me really well, right? So I think this institution was looking to be innovative. I was hoping to be an innovative leader. This is a large urban institution. I come from a large urban institution. So I really connected with the leadership here, and we've created a really great team. That might not have been my experience, or I may not have been as excited if I was looking for just any presidency, and then I landed in a place that really I didn't really connect with well. Or they didn't connect with me well. So I'd say be discerning about the opportunity and make sure you're going to a college that really that you connect with well, and then they connect with you well, because that'll give you the best foundation for success.
That's such good advice right now.
Yeah, sure. I think so. Especially if you're like me and you're, that I don't know what it is, type A, like really like wanting to achieve things, but also being a people pleaser. Like, it is a very tough place to be in. And so just, it's okay to say not yet, right? It's okay to say, I'm excited about being a president, but this isn't quite for me. I'm going to wait until that institution becomes available that works for me. I think that's really, really good thinking. I would say for a current president, I will give you all advice that I received from my boss, the chancellor of the Maricopa Community College District, Stephen Gonzalez, when I first got here, which is spend your first year listening to as many people as you can, students and employees, learning as much as you can about the institution, the culture of the institution, and the community that you serve. Communicate more than you think you need to. And then celebrate at any opportunity. And so instead of rushing in to really push people into a space that I had no idea if they were ready to be in or not. I spent that year and really most of this year when what I call listening and capacity building. So building up the team, really trying to understand the culture, understanding who are my champions in getting the work done, but also who is hesitant or maybe nervous, and then building trust. It's time well invested, time well spent. It may seem frustrating to you if you're someone who likes change and likes to move quickly, and I'm that person, but I held myself back almost the whole entire year and a half because I really wanted to invest in relationships, invest in trust building, invest in processes and systems that facilitated transparency and communication. That's not to say I'm great at all of those things, but I'm learning to be better at those things. And I think I'm now in a position where we can start moving a little faster. And I'm learning how to be a better communicator. And I've got processes that allow for a lot of transparency. So all that to say, invest in the people that you're working with, invest in understanding them and communicating and celebrating with them. I think that will get you a lot, put you in a good stead to do some really great things at the college.
Well, I'm going to leave it there because I think that is sage advice for all of us, no matter what position that we have to celebrate those wins. We're not in a business where we're all turning into millionaires, so we have to do this with passion as the investment, and the only way you can do that is by recognizing the people that are putting forth the effort. And I put forth very little effort because Dr. Hernandez here did all of the talking and provide all the insights, and we appreciate you so much, Tiffany, and the time you spent with us today. We hope you had a good time, too, that this was a good experience for you.
Oh, I had a great time. This has been something I've been wanting to do, so it's a wonderful way to start out the week. Thank you so much for having me here. It's been so fun.
Ladies and gentlemen, one more time, Dr. Tiffany Hernandez. She's the president of Glendale Community College, and you know what you've done. You've just EdUp'd.
If you think you can coast into 2026, think again. Insights EDU is coming February 17th to the 19th, 2026, and it's taking over Fort Lauderdale for a beachfront experience. It's the event that will flip your marketing and enrollment strategy on its head. 3 days, over 65 expert speakers, and over 40 sessions. Zero fluff. Just powerhouse strategies from the most anticipated platforms like Google, Reddit, Meta, MIQ Digital, and the most forward-thinking schools in the nation. You'll get the real wins, the bold ideas, and the hands-on tactics to grow programs, drive engagement, and create the student experience today's modern learner demands. The question is, are you ready to lead, or will you get left behind? Mark your calendar, bring your team, and secure your spot at insightsedu.com. That's insightsedu.com. Early bird pricing ends December 15, 2025. See you in Fort Lauderdale.
If you're finding value in these conversations, consider supporting Elvin and Joe. As a supporter, you'll get early ad-free access, plus exclusive leadership-focused content. It's only $5.99 a month or $44.99 a year. You can also donate or even gift a subscription to a colleague at edupexperience.com. That's edupexperience.com.